And the wheel, I've been thinking about this is maybe a stretch, but I'll think out loud about it. When I took physics in college, I learned that velocity is a product of speed and direction. So if you spin something in a perfect circle, you basically have infinite velocity because it's always changing direction, right? At every micro movement, it's not the linear direction is constantly changing. It's moving along a curve rather than linearly. So we have this way to create infinite velocity by just spinning something on a central axis. And the wheel, being a perfect circle, it doesn't have any of these linear spots on it. So it's ideal for dealing with a constantly changing and unpredictable terrain, right? Like no matter what shape the terrain throws at the wheel, well, the wheel is optimized to go over it because it's non-linear. It has no linear components. It's circular.
Exactly.
And so this very simplified integral instrument for dealing with the uncertainty of terrain we call the wheel is like one of the biggest deals we've ever invented, right? It's on everything, right? It's on your car, it's on your luggage, it's on anything that needs to move, right? We're still using wheels today. The design hasn't really changed at all. It's perfected. It's just a very simple integral instrument. And so by way of comparison, maybe like no matter how uncertain or unpredictable the terrain, you know that the wheel is going to be ideal for dealing with it. And sort of similarly, like no matter what the economic conditions are, you know that money is going to be useful. But Bitcoin is like the first perfect circle of money, right? There's no like the political frictions we described as being these chunks in the wheel or linear portions. Like we remove all that, and so you just have this perfect money that lets you overcome the frictions of partial barter that political money causes. So maybe Bitcoin is like an economic wheel, whereas all other monies were this non-circular wheel, by way of analogy. And yeah, it's hard really that if you get to that level of realization, you're like, okay, well, what does that mean? That means everything we've created so far has been created with political partial money, an approximation of money. What can we create with a pure money? And that the world looks really different, really interesting. Um,
I love that analogy. I I've never heard it put that way, but I think it's perfect. It's a great analogy because that's what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin, like I was saying, oil is can't be perfect money because it's biased towards things that use oil.
yeah,
Gold is, gold is pretty good because we can't use it for much more than jewelry and computers, which is
yeah,
a modern phenomena.
I'm glad that you're taking the time to learn about Bitcoin, learn about Bitcoin's potential future value, both in terms of political currency units and on society as a whole. And I'm really glad that you're taking the effort to study and educate yourself about Bitcoin. However, I must make this message incredibly clear. If you are learning about Bitcoin, you must begin also learning about self-custody and taking possession of your own keys. This is really, really important. You can watch as many YouTube videos as you want talking about how Bitcoin is going to skyrocket in fiat price and how the number is going to go up. You can talk about that all you want. You can daydream about this kind of vertical spike action for Bitcoin. You can daydream about this all you want. But my encouragement to you is that this is not a meme. This is not something to be taken lightly. We can think that this is a good thing, and it is a good thing ultimately for Bitcoin's long-term adoption, but this is real. Okay, this really happens in countries. It may not happen in your country for some time. It may happen in a stair-step fashion, but this is not a meme. This is not a joke. And so, therefore, you need to take self-custody really, really seriously. Okay. I work full time in self-custody solutions for people. I help people set up their multi-sig vaults. I help people set up their estate plans. I help people with a collaborative custody partnership and collaborative custody models. Okay. This is a chart of the interest we have at the Bitcoin Advisor, the company I work at. Okay. This is not me personally. This is the whole company. We've been in business 7 years. Not a single client of ours has ever lost a single sat. Okay. We have a good number of clients, and this is our demand. My point in showing you this chart, my point in showing you this message right now is that it is increasingly urgent, increasingly important that you begin taking self-custody very seriously. I'm telling you, I'm on the inside of this all day, every day, 6 days a week, and demand for self-custody is skyrocketing. Okay. The kinds of clients we have, the number of clients we have, the conviction in the clients we have, it is only going up. Okay. And people are booking meetings with me weeks, okay, in advance. In some cases, over a month in advance. And we are in bear market. Okay. This chart right here is from October 2023. Okay. Bear, like incredible low interest globally in Bitcoin, and our demand is still skyrocketing, it's still spiking. And my encouragement is that if we have a bull run, if we have parabolic spikes such as this, where Bitcoin goes rapidly upwards in terms of price, if we have these periods of time, okay, transaction fees are going to spike. Okay, exchanges are going to halt withdrawals. Okay, people are going to panic. They're going to smash buy any price. Okay, it's going to be increasingly difficult to have any time with people to help you in your self-custody setups. So, first and foremost, whatever you do, whether you work with me at the Bitcoin Advisor, whether you go somewhere else, whether you figure it out on your own, whatever the case, please start figuring out self-custody, hot wallets, cold wallets, hot wallets, cold wallets, single sig, multi sig, whatever you do, just start figuring it out now, because I'm increasingly alarmed by the number of Bitcoiners that do not have self-custody. So please, if you have any Bitcoin self-custody, but especially if you have a large amount of Bitcoin in self-custody, please start taking this stuff seriously, because it's only going to be increasingly important in the future. And so, if you'd like to work with me, if you'd like to hear my opinions, perspectives, and ideas on this topic, you can find me at the Bitcoin Advisor. This is precisely why I work at the Bitcoin Advisor, because I believe this is such an important topic here. Okay. You can find me there. You can have expert guidance on how to self-custody Bitcoin, to buy, secure, and store it properly for the long term. We can have tailored strategies for you, what your long-term vision is, both for yourself, your own individual future, your retirement, and for your future generations as well. Again, multi-sig vaults, estate plans, all these things for you. Okay. You can just book a free meeting with me here, and the link down below in the description. Again, the first consultation is completely free, where we can talk about your priorities and see if there's a value add both for you and for the Bitcoin Advisor as well. And again, our goal is to help you have generational wealth for you and your loved ones and your children without losing sleep. Okay. And that's why not only do you get a free initial consultation, but you have dozens and dozens of pages of education about multi-sig, self-custody, how to store your Bitcoin properly, things to avoid, things to pursue. Okay. Again, dozens and dozens of pages of free education for you to be learning about this increasingly important, increasingly urgent topic. Okay. And then you can learn further about the Bitcoin Advisor and why we provide much more value for half the cost of our competitors. You can learn about all this and more in that link in the description, where you can book a free consultation with me at the Bitcoin Advisor. So again, whatever you do, whether you work with me at the Bitcoin Advisor or you try to figure out on your own, please just start taking action now. Because in a couple of years, higher and higher net worth people are going to be entering the space and demanding self-custody. Okay, more and more companies, more and more charities, more and more pension funds, more and more churches, all these things, all these groups of people, all these entities are going to be coming into Bitcoin very quickly, and they'll be willing to pay the transaction fees. They'll be willing to pay whatever fiat price and get for their sats. They'll be willing to do the self-custody as fast as possible. And so my encouragement to you, again, I'm glad you're enjoying these videos. I really appreciate you subscribing and commenting and being a part of these videos and increasing your Bitcoin education. But please, please, please do not stop at the end of this video. Immediately after you watch the end of this video, please start taking your self-custody seriously, whether that's with me at the Bitcoin Advisor, again, link in description, or it's on your own. Whatever the case, please just do it. Thank you.
But that's why gold works so much better than copper or others, or one of the reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And I think political currency units, aka cash, dollars, pesos, lira, is that the problem with those is that they are not a wheel, like you're saying, like you're describing so well, and that they have those linear edges. There's not an infinite number of points on the circumference. There are those linear edges. So a political currency unit is distorted to the state, and because the state has monopoly over that imperfect wheel, they're incentivized to make the wheel actively worse over time. And so that's why they're even worse than oil, worse than gold, worse than real estate. The political currency unit is distorted to have the wheel decline and get worse and more distorted over time. So yeah, I think that's a great analogy you have.
Yeah, and then you, in your tweet, back to your tweet here, you conclude with, the only fix is to create a mathematical algorithm that cuts humans out of the loop via game theory. Now, for me, like my Bitcoin epiphany, I think it was largely rooted in the study of game theory. And I guess Bitcoin critics actually make fun of us often. They're like, oh yeah, let me guess, game theory is the answer, blah, blah, blah. Like they're trying to discount it as, I don't know, something, which the name is not that great, actually, game theory. It's something that's observed very widely in all, like the animal kingdom, the human kingdom. So maybe we could just unpack game theory a little bit. And the game, broadly understood, is really any situation where there can be winners and losers, right? Where there's something to be gained by some at the expense of others. Obviously, there's different forms of games, right? There's positive sum games where you can have win-win situations, like the economic division of labor. And then there's zero-sum games like theft, right? One person has to lose for another person to gain. And a strategy in game theory is really just any method for making decisions under such conditions. So, what is it about when you say creating a mathematical algorithm that cuts humans out of the loop via game theory? How do you unpack that for people that don't understand game theory per se?